In 2026, the Department of War initiated the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, also known as PURSUE. This directive released tens of millions of historical documents, raw coordinates, and previously classified video footage directly into the public domain. For decades, commercial and military pilots have repeatedly reported unidentifiable objects rapidly pacing their aircraft mid-flight, creating severe and immediate hazards to aviation safety. Despite the high risk of a mid-air collision, these professionals faced a harsh reality. Filing an official report about what they saw almost guaranteed the immediate end of their career. Before 2026, the public information vacuum existed by design. The government engineered a strict policy to isolate the data and silence the witnesses. The roots of that policy traced back to 1952, with the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book. Under its first director, Captain Edward Ruppelt, it began as a genuine effort to investigate aerial anomalies using scientific methods. But a year later, the CIA convened the Robertson Panel, identifying a threat. Thousands of low-grade UFO reports flooding military channels could mask a Soviet attack. To clear the pipeline, they mandated a media debunking campaign. The directive? Ridicule the phenomenon to kill public interest. Under later directors like Major Hector Quintanilla, Blue Book's methodology broke down entirely. Investigators were routinely ordered to reclassify unknowns as probable comets or the planet Venus, often with zero supporting evidence. This approach peaked in 1966 when multiple Ohio police officers engaged in a 30-minute high-speed chase with a brightly lit, low-flying disc. After a superficial review, the Air Force publicly declared the officers had simply been chasing a communication satellite. The press ridiculed the officers, and their reputations suffered heavily. When Project Blue Book officially closed in 1969, the Air Force dismissed the entire subject as a mix of mass hysteria, hoaxes, and simple misidentifications. Cold War anxieties over jammed radar lines birthed a powerful 70-year stigma. It became a professional taboo that successfully locked scientists out of the conversation. Frustrated by this ongoing blockade, the private sector eventually built its own infrastructure to monitor the skies. For aviation professionals, a major step forward arrived in 1999 with the creation of the National Aviation Reporting Center on Anomalous Phenomena, or NARCAP. NARCAP provided a secure, confidential mechanism for pilots to log encounters. They could finally map real flight safety hazards without risking their livelihoods. Simultaneously, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies emerged, demanding an end to the reliance on shaky eyewitness testimony.
The coalition established strict standards requiring structured, objective data. Instead of human memory, they focused entirely on calibrated sensor systems, like triangulated radar returns and multi-angle infrared tracking. By organizing high-quality data and tracking clear flight safety risks, these private groups created a record of encounters that contradicted official military silence. The 2026 PURSUE mandate followed decades of this private sector organization. The government's pivot to transparency was a response to an accumulation of sensor data and safety reports that could no longer be dismissed as part of the information vacuum. Today, researching anomalous phenomena has finally shed its fringe reputation and matured into a legitimate, multidisciplinary science. Even the Department of War has stripped away the alien conspiracies. Their modern operational definition of an unresolved case simply means the government lacks sufficient data to make a definitive identification. At recent international conferences, active defense experts, policymakers, and academics sit in the same rooms, collaborating openly on standardizing sensor data. The 2026 unsealing hasn't provided a single answer for every object in the sky. Instead, it dismantled the infrastructure of secrecy, allowing the military, the scientific community, and the public to finally collaborate on the same data.